Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that your job is to clean human waste, not for a day, not for a week, for your entire life. No gloves, no modern hygiene, no washing machines, no plumbing, just you and the smell. It sounds like a nightmare, but for millions of people living during the Middle Ages, unpleasant jobs weren't the exception. They were everyday life. When people think about medieval Europe, they usually imagine brave knights, giant castles, and powerful kings. Movies show grand feasts, epic battles, and heroic adventures. But most people weren't kings, they weren't nobles, and they definitely weren't knights. Most people were ordinary workers doing jobs that modern people would consider absolutely horrifying. Today, we're exploring some of the darkest, strangest, and most disgusting jobs in the Middle Ages. And trust me, some of these are far worse than you think. Let's start with one of the strangest jobs in royal history, the groom of the stool. The name alone sounds ridiculous, but the job was very real. The groom of the stool was responsible for assisting the king while he used the toilet. Yes, that toilet. This person helped provide water, towels, and whatever else the king needed. To modern ears, that sounds like the worst job imaginable. But here's the surprising part. It was actually one of the most prestigious positions in the kingdom. Because the groom spent so much private time with the king, he often became one of the ruler's closest advisors. Powerful nobles competed for the position. Some grooms became incredibly wealthy and influential. Imagine becoming one of the most important people in the country because you helped the king in the bathroom. History is weird, but that job was practically luxurious compared to what came next. Meet the fullers, the people responsible for cleaning clothes. Today, cleaning laundry is simple. You throw clothes into a machine, press a few buttons, and wait. Medieval workers had no such luxury. Fullers cleaned cloth by soaking it in a mixture that often included human urine. Yes, actual urine. The reason was simple. Urine contains ammonia, which helps break down dirt and grease. Workers would stand for hours stomping on fabric inside large vats, day after day, breathing the smell, standing ankle deep in the mixture. Imagine explaining your career at a family gathering. What do you do for work? I spend all day standing in pee. Not exactly a dream job, but even that wasn't the most dangerous occupation. That title might belong to the gong farmers. Their job was to clean medieval toilets. Except medieval toilets weren't connected to sewer systems. Waste collected inside large pits beneath buildings, and somebody had to remove it, usually at night, armed with buckets and shovels. Gong farmers climbed into these pits and removed human waste by hand. The work was filthy, the smell was unbearable, and the danger was real. Toxic gases could build up underground. Some workers actually suffocated while doing their jobs. The pay was surprisingly good, but there was a reason. Very few people wanted to do it. Then there were the tanners, the people responsible for turning animal skins into leather. Leather was essential during the Middle Ages. People needed shoes, belts, armor, bags, and countless other items. But producing leather was a disgusting process. Animal hides arrived covered in blood, flesh, and hair. Workers soaked them in foul mixtures and scraped away the remains. The smell was so terrible that many towns forced tanneries to operate far away from where people lived. If your job could make an entire neighborhood smell awful, you probably weren't popular. And speaking of smells, let's talk about butchers. Without refrigeration, meat spoiled quickly. Workers spent long hours handling animal carcasses. Blood covered the floors, waste attracted insects, and sanitation standards were nowhere near modern levels. Many medieval towns struggled constantly with disease. Jobs involving food were often far dirtier than people imagine. Yet, despite all of these unpleasant occupations, life continued. People worked, raised families, made friends, and tried to survive. Because survival was often the primary goal. In fact, many workers never had the luxury of choosing their careers. If your parents were farmers, you were probably becoming a farmer. If your family worked in a trade, you likely followed the same path. Opportunity was limited, social mobility was rare, and daily life was often harsh. The reality is that most medieval people weren't living heroic adventures. They were simply trying to get through another day, working difficult jobs, facing disease, battling hunger, and hoping life would improve. So the next time you complain about your job, remember the people who spent their days standing in vats of urine, or climbing into a medieval toilet pit, or scraping animal hides for hours at a time. Suddenly, answering emails doesn't seem quite so bad. The Middle Ages gave us castles, kings, and legendary stories, but it also gave us a reminder. Behind every great kingdom were ordinary workers doing the jobs nobody else wanted. And without them, medieval society simply couldn't function.